Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the south corner of the map playing in blue, we've got 3DB playing as the Abbasid Dynasty. And his opponent in the north playing in red, we've got Kiljardi playing as the Rus. Welcome everyone to Dry Arabia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day, and by the way, this game is going to be a fantastic one. It's part of the Master of the Realms tournament hosted by EGC TV. I'd really highly recommend them checking them out if you haven't already. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know EGC TV by now. It's a great organization. They've been hosting tournaments right from the get-go, literally from day one of Age of Empires 4. Definitely worth a look out. So big shout out to them. This game was played in that tournament. But I just want to make mention that there was 2 scouts opening here for the Abbasid Dynasty. So looking to get the sheep nice and early. Is venturing out to berries. This is kind of an interesting take on opening as the Abbasid Dynasty. The reason why is because you go for berries. Oh, that bit of a long distance mining, unfortunately, there for B. But yeah, you go for berries first so that the scouts can go out on the map, get as many sheep as possible. But opening up with the second scout means it's going to be getting a lot more sheep. And to be fair, I guess it's against the Rus, right? So it's going to be contesting those hunts. That's the real reason behind it. The reason why I got caught off guard, because I have been seeing 3DB do this up against other civilizations that actually, you know, away from the Rus, where he's not contesting the bounty. So it's kind of strange to see B go for a 2 scout opening. But yeah, I guess in a way, against the Rooster makes a lot of sense. Now I would like to say a very big thank you for Tim on Fire, who's just subscribed with the Prime on Twitch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You didn't have to, but you did. Thanks so much for that support. Speaking of which, thanks so much for the support, guys, on YouTube or Twitch, wherever you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm kind of curious to see this particular matchup. The Rus Abbasids, right? The Rus typically can open with a second town set pretty, unscathed. It's pretty easy for them because of the Kremlin. They can get the Kremlin Gremlins to defend that TC position if they need to. The Abbasid Dynasty, likewise, they typically do the same. They can go for a second town center, so we're possibly going to be seeing a game that kind of ventures into the mid to late game, considering it's quite likely both civilizations will open 2 town centers. Of course, we're assuming, and assuming can make an ass out of you and me, of course. You never really know what these 2 players might be opting to do. It's going to be typical opening though with the Kremlin, actually placed on the gold vein and the berries, which is in a nice spot. Protect that location, of course, if he's thinking about a fast castle behind this as well. The Abbasid Dynasty, going for the military wing. Going to be giving access to 2 spearmen and 2 archers pretty quickly off the bat, which is great to have, actually. Get those units out and try and put some pressure. Whether he's going to be able to put too much pressure on the Rus or not, I'm not so sure. But something that's pretty cool that we see the Abbasid do with those extra units is actually push the deer camp in, which you can't really do anymore because the deer camp have been already slaughtered. They've gone for the bounty, of course. Kind of curious to see how B will utilize the military wing. Whether they'll be looking to deny the spots for the second town center or not. So let's peel those villagers away from gold for now. I actually mined 150 gold. Kind of curious to see the decision behind that. Like whether he's looking for upgrades. Is it going to be wheelbarrow potentially? It could be, because wheelbarrow is 150 gold. Double scouts just going at each other. Maybe looking to challenge for that wolf. Looks like B should get this position because those scouts are pretty weak there for Kiljardi. That one in particular. Oh, he might lose it. He does lose it. That's a great pick off, by the way. Now it means that the wolf will be pretty much just taken there by B. In terms of unit and army composition, I'm kind of curious to see, well, how Rus play this out. Sometimes it can actually drop down a stable for an early knight, which could potentially be an option. The early knight could put some pressure, be a bit more defensive, well, give some defensive capabilities to protect that second town center placement, but it can also be the case that he's just going to straight for a second TC. Speaking of which, though, in terms of placement, it's a bit tricky for the Rus. Like, you can't really venture out here. There is deer and wood, but it's a little bit too far out, and we're commonly seeing these days that a second town center placed too far out can be very dangerous. Quite easy to punish. The second town center only has 2,008. Oh god, that scout's got to be careful. Yeah, a second TC only has 2,500 HP on it, and only has 7 garrisonable spots, so it's pretty hard to defend at times. It could quite potentially place the TC on the gold to try and then venture into a fast castle into this. We'll have to see. I'm kind of curious to see what B decides to go for the castle age as well. Could go for the culture wing to go for a bit of a faster time up and trying to get the relics. It's an option for them Whether it's a good one or not, I mean, it will give the technologies a bit cheaper as well with preservation of knowledge and also lead to a cheaper Imperial Age. There's a lot behind it. One thing that could be nice is the ecoing to get the Fertile Crescent to then get a farming transition pretty cheap. But it does feel like the Culture Wing adds quite a lot of depth, right? You get the upgrades quicker, it's going to be a good timing on that, a good power spike, and the Imperial Age would be subsequently cheaper. There's the Golden Age tier 1 for the Abbasids, going to give them an additional 15% gather rate on all resources. And the TC is certainly being placed quite close to home near the gold vein. Keep that area covered. Speaking of second town center placements and being a bit more greedy with it, 3DB is doing just that. Going for the berries and the deer. It's going to be a lot of food. Which I don't necessarily hate, because the thing about the Abbasids, being able to get access to the fresh foodstuffs technology gives them a 35% discount on their villagers. And so a lot of civilizations often find it a bit tricky to pump out units early on when they start off with a 2-town center. Because, you know, 2-town centers are very heavy on the food income that you need to keep it running. Whereas the Abbasids, their villages are significantly cheaper, 32 food rather than your usual 50. And that savings you can get, you can you know, pump into other units, whether it be horsemen, spearmen, whatever it is really. And it means the villagers pay back for themselves very quickly with how cheap they are. Oh, double archery range. So we're seeing kind of a not an unusual, but a bit of an older type of build from the Rus. Go for mass archers potentially. They have a great wood economy, of course, with the double broadaxe coming in, but also more importantly, the Kremlin being able to boost the amount of wood coming in. 20% more wood on that lumber camp. Remember the days when the Rus used to opt for like 3-4 archer ranges and they'd keep spamming out those archers. Those were good times. Now, slowly transitioning onto gold here, B, so possibly could be thinking about a castle age actually. 6 villagers on the golds. Does get an archer range built. Having said all this, it's kind of a tricky situation going for mass archers. Whilst he's got the economy for it, like the wood income, the bigger concern is that the Abbasid Dynasty archers typically, you know, they scale a lot better, right? You've got access to boot camp with the military, but more importantly, composite bows in the castle age. So whilst archers generally aren't necessarily a unit that you kind of want to rely on to the mid to late game, maybe the Abbasid Dynasty can get away with it, at least more so than other civilizations. Couple of archers, couple of spears, backing away for now. Kiljadi chasing that down. And this is the curious thing, right? I mean, hasn't really been able to benefit too much from the miniature wing here already. And I think it's typically going to be the case going up against the Rus, so I was a bit surprised to see that opening. But anyway, at least you'll get access to boot camp nice and early. And if it does have an extended feudal age, maybe then that way miniature wing comes into play really, rather than the free units. Wheelbarrow is on the way. This is where the Rus really shine, right? The eco is so strong. Having Wheelbarrow so early for the Rus, also double broadaxe, he affords so much of the eco upgrades. Looks like, in fact, Kiljadi is going to be sticking out in the feudal age a bit longer than, say, B is. B is certainly edging towards that castle age. Going to be chasing down a couple of those archers. Camel archer and horseman on the case. Only one horseman, so should be okay. Be able to retreat with most of these archers. Camel archer has to be a bit careful. Might take quite a few arrows. Trying to get a wooden fortress in that forward position to protect the deer camp. The positions of the food for the Rus is a bit tricky. It's quite far forward. The berries and the deer camp. Both equally. And the militia being drafted in. Good usage of them actually. Picks off a horseman. Nicely done. Although another one rides on in. And this is the crazy situation, right? Like, B is pumping out units. He's got 10 military units, but he's still also edging towards that castle age. And that is the power of the fresh foodstuffs technology. It really is. It kind of gives you vibes of other civilizations, in particular, say, the Byzantines. They too are a great civilization to be able to, you know, edge towards the castle age, but also keep pumping out units using olive oil with the mercenaries. It's quite an interesting mechanic, actually, in Age of Empires, being able to do both at the same time. Can be a bit oppressive at times, you know, to be able to take up and make units. And he's going to go to the culture wing, and he's going to go for stable. So he's got double stable, double archer range behind this. Quite looking forward to seeing some maybe camel riders on the field. He's looking to wall up as well. Now, culturing will give him access, of course, to preservation of knowledge. Going to be reducing the advancements of the age to Imperial Age, and also the cost of all technologies by 20%. So really nice power boost. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. First cast of the day. Things a bit rusty for me. Switching into a barracks as well. Now, spreading the economy quite well here, B. Palisades, though, yet to be built. Building with one villager, so we'll take some time. Oh, wait. Where's the foundations for this? That's not been built. I think he's going to skip that. He's going to leave that open. Can't be intentional, right? It must be a misclick somewhere. Oh, that's a bit rough. Oh, B. No, not like this. He's going to leave himself opened. And it's going to be the high trade house in a really good spot. That's going to give him plenty of gold trickling in. You'd love to see it as the Rus. Blacksmith for some upgrades. A pretty kind of slow start to the game. But it's understandable, right? Both civilizations opted for a second town center. And we do have a saying on the chat. Wait, double blacksmith. Alright, he really wants those upgrades. Double blacksmith for the win. That's kind of curious. Like, is this really intentional? It might just be. But it's weird, right? Because you kind of expect him to go for a mosque. Oh, he's going to go for a mosque anyway. He's really affording everything here, B. That mosque will give him access to the imams to pop out to pick up some relics if they can. Horsemen diving on in. Good number of spearmen though. Camel archers will take care of that. But good initial engagement for Kiljari. Snipes out one of the camel archers, which is a very expensive unit. Yeah, he's going to queue up preservation of knowledge. Going to bear the, he's going to wait for it, get it, and then get the tech ups. Oh yeah, he was almost clicking horticulture, but he's being patient about it. One thing that's quite nice actually for the Abbasids in this particular stage of the game. They can actually build siege engines on the ground, so it's quite possible that he's saving up for a mangonel, right? You can see the wood income looking pretty decent. Gold as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see a mangonel or two. Could be important because to be able to counteract that for the Rus, he has to invest in a siege workshop, Kiljari. Having access to the warrior monks, though, might help him pick up the relics a little bit quicker, but I love this detail. B, looking to keep units on those relics just to make sure that, he's not going to give them away cheaply. Double staple opening here for Kiljari for knights, which is kind of an interesting choice because he's going to go up against possibly camels. The camels should fare well against them, of course. The camels having the benefit of camel unease, reducing the damage from enemy cavalry by 20%. It's quite big, does lose the 2 spim, but spim to 2 archers, and so it's quite possible we'll see a warrior monk venture out there pretty soon. Oh, Imam gets caught a little bit. Might survive though, with the lancers and camel archer pushing on forward. Does survive for now. But certainly, we're going for that kind of race for the relics. All these villages and berries a bit exposed, but it does have the gate to retreat into, to be fair, so it should be okay. Taking the engagement, good veteran archers upgraded, but there's not enough of them, right? And these lancers will chop through them. Fortunately, Kiljari starting to lose a bit of a grip on the map, actually. He's losing in key locations. It does have one relic already in the bank, and he's just going to fight the scout off. No real surprises there. Scout can't really do too much damage. Sorry, Angel, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Welcome on in. And he's going to like to get the sacred site behind this as well. I think, wait, is that really planned? I mean, where are all the relics? They're kind of, to be fair, there's 2 behind the walls for B. That's actually really nicely done, the other ones here. So to be fair, there's not many relics up for grabs anymore. At least not, they're not challengeable. And with this, Golden Age Tier 2 comes at a perfect time. Coming at the time where a lot of upgrades are going to be queued up. Well, I think he may have just got most of them already, but yeah, preservation of knowledge, making them significantly cheaper, 20%. Really helps them get these units pumping out as well. No worries, sorry, Angel. Yeah, I mean, I've mostly been a YouTuber for quite some time. It's only recently I've actually started streaming on Twitch, which I'm kind of grateful I've done, actually. It's actually a lot of fun engaging with Twitch chatters, because, there was a time where I was casting games offline, which was fun, and it was good, but it's quite nice to engage with chat every so often, and in particular, between games, predominantly. It's nice to see the same faces and actually see some names behind it all. Otherwise, on the YouTube side of things, you can get kind of like you kind of look at the view count as a creator, right? And you can get a bit bogged down about it, but I do enjoy seeing the same faces on the YouTube comments and things, and I feel like I know some of the people quite well now, despite, you know, obviously not meeting them in person, but because we have a lot of conversations and things back and forth on YouTube comments and the regular commenters. It's quite nice to see them every so often. So welcome on in. Lancer's going to dive on in. I mean, the thing about this cavalry play for the Rus, he's got Camel Arnies here with the Camel Archers, so it really hurts them. I mean, of course the Rus want to play to this, they want to use the mobility, but it's always a tricky situation coming up to the threat of the Camels from the Abbasid dynasty. Going to dive on here, he's got plenty of a meat shield here, the Abbasids, and he should be fine. There's a good number of horsemen, but I mean, measuring up against the Camel Archers and the Lancers, I think the Camel Archers should win this. Good number of archers for BE. Don't forget he's got boot camp as well, and it looks like he's got composite bows. In fact, almost certainly has. Look at the way these archers are firing. They're firing fast, and this is looking disastrous for Killjadi. He's really running low on army. This is not a fight he could take, even underneath 2 wooden fortresses. This is a big deal. Lancer's going to dive on in. And he's definitely sniping stuff. But he's going to maybe get some rams out, which, to be fair, for the Abbasids is not a problem. That's exactly what he does, right? The Abbasids getting siege engineering for free makes this a really nice transition to this. Let's have a look. On the west side of the gold. This is an 8,000 tile gold vein, by the way. So these walls have worked wonders for B already. He's cordoned off a lot of them up. Oh, Mangonel for the Rus. That's actually a bit of a danger point, though, for B. He's got to be careful about that. The good thing for the Abbasids is that they can build siege engines on the ground. He's going to try and snipe it with the cavalry. Doesn't quite manage it. He's going to try and snipe it with the archers. Quite possible. Oh, but there are villagers to repair. It becomes way too dangerous now. B needs to back away. He's going to try and stay out of the range of those Mangonels. And the bigger problem is he doesn't have much in the way of anti-cavalry. He will lose 1 ramp, but he takes up wooden fortress. About to take the second as well. I mean, I think overall, if B just retreats here, doesn't need to push the issue a bit more any further, although he won't get the second wooden fortress, unfortunately. But has done some significant damage. Militia drafted in as well, and he's going to back away, get a bit of breathing space. He's got all 3 sacred sites, by the way, so plenty of gold coming in that way. Speaking about comments, by the way, earlier, do me a favor, guys. If you're on YouTube, make sure you do drop a comment in the comment section below. Just drop down your favorite emoji. I've noticed in the most recent videos that I've asked people to do that. Those videos are actually taken off, and I think I'm seeing new people join the community because of it. And the big thing about that is that if you get more viewers, you get more people playing the game, you get a better player base, maybe more tournaments, maybe more content. And obviously, I'm not even going to lie, this helps me out personally as well, obviously. It's totally free. How's it going, Camion? Farman Cast, give me the vibes of Our Planet documentary. I like that, actually. I've been thinking recently, you know, maybe I'll watch a bit more of David Attenborough. I haven't watched a lot of him, but obviously I know him. Obviously, well, not personally, obviously. I mean, he's not, you know the situation with David Attenborough. But yeah, I never really used to watch him all that much, but I kind of want to watch him and pick up some of his mannerisms, you know? Emulate one of the greats. Welcome on in, Caribbean. How's it going, Mr. McRooster? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Hurry up with the new Civs relic. I mean, I agree. I'd love to see some. I'd love to see some. Horsemen going around the right side, which, no, they're going to go undetected, but not too much value out of it because it has got the palisades. Perfect timing, I gotta say. Couldn't write it any better, right? B, he's on point. He's recognizing the threat, and he deals with it. How's it going, Blue Goose? Yeah, I think, well, I certainly think so, actually, because the most recent DLC was obviously one of the biggest, best-selling DLCs that the Age of Empires franchise has had, and I can imagine the next one being something quite similar. That'd be pretty epic, I gotta say. It'll be pretty epic. There's definitely positive signs for the community, I gotta say, in terms of esports as well. I mean, I know Red Bull Wallow's a bit, not maybe as everyone was expected, but things are growing still, so we shall see. Now, he needs to re-wall that up. Bit of a gap between that and that wood line. But he manages to clear up quite nicely. Pretty evenly matched, I gotta say, actually, at this point. Let's have a look at this. The concern, though, for B is that he's up against Mangonels and Siege, which, of course, the Rus do incredibly well. And it scales well. I'm kind of curious to see if the Rus will end up going for the high armory in the Imperial Age. Not that we're anywhere near there, because he's going to look to try and contest those sacred sites. Now, both players not really mining any stone. As I say that. I was about to make a comment on keeps, and B's going to get a keep in this position. This is super significant because we're heading that 20 minute of the game. Watching a lot of games recently, I've really started to appreciate certain timings, and 20 minutes on the clock, you really do need to start thinking about the 8,000 tile goals of Vayne. Wait, that's the wrong way around of the words, but you know what I mean? The 8,000 tiled gold veins, that's what I meant to say. It's really early in the morning for me. But yeah, getting the keep there, it's going to be really difficult for the Rus to get a long-term source of gold. Of course, he's got gold back in the base, but you really want to get onto those 8,000 gold veins if you can. Considering B, what he's doing, he's prioritizing these 2 gold veins really significantly. He's soaking up the gold off the map, and he's always got this gold at the back if he needs to. 2 gold veins here on the right side as well, closer to him, and he's obviously playing for that late game. Like, the strategic option here is to try and deny the resources off the middle of the map, and then he'll be able to retreat. If he ever gets pushed off the position B, he's going to be taking a lot of the gold off the map, and he can always go back home. It's raiding a bit on the wood, on the farms, and well, it's causing idle time at the very least. On the right, on the left. Oh god, that's a lot of horsemen. Gonna dive on that wood line. Oh god, this could be devastating for B. He's gonna lose a lot. He's gonna go to the Imperial Age with a trade wing. I mean, it makes a lot of sense at this stage, right? Because he's probably got a half decent farming transition involved, and that's probably the only real benefit of Fertile Crescent at this point from the Eco Wing. He's gonna clear this up though with the Lancers. Nicely done. Contesting the Sacred Sites, but the Sacred Site in the middle was decapped a while ago, so did reduce that chance for win. Look at this B. He's just like, he wants all the gold off the map he can get. Tries to deny everything he can. Oh, Village going back onto gold a bit too prematurely. Nothing protecting this. Oh, it's actually kind of rough. He's losing a bit here. B, villagers, hello. Oh, I was going to lose some here as well. Yeah, Kiljadi's recognized B's going for the gold and is challenging it. Good raiding from Kiljadi overall, I've got to say. Bit surprised to see this army not pushing on forward. I think he's waiting for the Imperial Age. It's got to be the High Armory, right? It's got to be the High Armory. How's it going? Funbane, welcome on in. Alright, it's going to be getting that farming transition, but I think trade makes a lot of sense, right? You kind of want to make sure you get Grand Bazaar, being able to play for that late game if he needs to. Because it does look like it's going to be a gold game, actually, at this point. And it looks like Kiljadi might be struggling on that front if he doesn't get access to this gold pretty soon. I mean, in fact, I think Kiljadi has 1 gold vein at the back and 1 gold vein here, which is not yet taken. He does have 3 relics, ultimately, which is going to certainly help him. And with the hunting cabins and the high trade house, speaking of which, the high trade house, almost 200 gold per minute. That's pretty hefty. I've got to make a comment, though, on the monastery position. It doesn't look like it's too much under threat right now, but it is a forward position for the monastery. And if the game does end up going super late, that could be a problem. Like, it's easy to snipe that, or relatively easy. And he's starting to trade quite heavily. In fact, let's take a look at the trade route. 4 gold. Okay, not ideal. Of course, he needs to go for the long distance here. Needs the market set up, and he's going to look to do that now. Kiljadi, though, going up to the Imperial Age with the High Armory. It's going to be making the siege engines significantly cheaper, but also going to be able to get these particular not super cheap, but pretty effective siege engine upgrades. He's losing a lot of siege here. B. He loses the keep as well to the 2 trebuchets. Looks like Kiljadi, he's making a play for the gold and kind of has to, really. He's going to dive on. He's kind of playing with fire here, B. He's going to charge in with a couple of lancers, so should take out 1 mangonel. The second one might be a bit more trickier to get rid of. He's going to try and work his way through into the middle. He wants to gap close and try and get into the minimum attack range. Oh, but he takes a massive shot from the mangonel. Looks like the Rus going to solidify this position with a keep, and B will lose those archers. Now, the question is whether he remakes them. I suspect he won't, actually. Like we've talked about in the cast earlier, that I don't think necessarily archers scale super well in the late game, and yeah, you can see now there's definitely a switch. Ooh, elite camel riders. He's kept that hidden for quite some time, and that's going to be a perfect unit against any sort of cavalry from the Rus. The Rus have to come up with a different strategy. It feels like they've got to take into Streltsy at this point. I think Streltsy's probably got to be the play. Maybe crossbows, but Streltsy possibly a bit more favoured in the super late game. Is getting access to gold once again. B has taken a big chunk of it out of there, though. 8,000 tile gold. Almost going. Kiljari and B almost at population cap, and it's really going to come down to the army choices, right? At this point, who really is able to do damage. And with trade being set up really nice and early for B, you have to bear in mind, you know, the gold is going to be evaporated off the map pretty soon, and once that happens, B is going to be a bit more well equipped, right? He's not going to have he's not going to be starved of gold in one big rush. He's going to have the constant trickling in from the trade. Speaking of which, it's something he's got to protect. Those horsemen are going to break through on the west side. Camel riders are going to chase. Should do a decent job of protecting it. Villagers on gold there for Kiljari. He's going to lose quite a few here. There's Ghulams added into the mix with the Lancers, with a couple of range units as well. Hand Cannoneers added into the mix for the Abbasids. On the west side, raids are coming on in. Camel riders starting to chase. A couple of horsemen on the villagers on gold. Slowly but surely, Kiljari's starting to push through the middle. Looks like Palisades coming out for B. He wants to make sure this is a messy game and get those walls up. Horsemen, though, are unchallenged there. One Camel rider will take care of that horseman pretty easily. He's opting for the Culverins to deal with the siege that's on the field, which is... it's going to be tough, right, for the Abbasids. You feel like the Rus have got a really strong late game. Although, I guess the Abbasids do in many ways as well. Like, the Rus, of course, got the cheaper siege engines with the unique techs, which is definitely going to be really nice in the late game. Like, a lot of the late game situations do revolve around siege. But then you've got the Abbasids with particular units. They've got the Camel Riders that deal well against the cavalry. They've also got a great economy behind it with when you factor in Golden Age Tier 3, if he does have it. I'll have a check on that in just a moment. I'll have to take a look at this fight first. A good number of Spearmen. Probably one of the best Spearman units in the game with a Phalanx upgrade, extra range. It's finding it a little bit difficult to deal with this Horseman mass, especially with the Streltsy coming in following behind them. It's looking a little bit dicey for B. Let's take a look at the House of Wisdom. Doesn't yet have the Tier 3. It's quite expensive to get there. Well, quite a lot of structures you need. In fact, it needs 15 more buildings to be able to get there. But it does unlock a lot of potential, right? In particular, it's the production that I'm more interested in. The production speed increased by 20%, and also the villager gathering rate by 20%. There's a lot of Camel Riders and Ghulams together. Heavily armoured units, very pricey units, but this could get him out of a bind. Forward keep coming in for Kiljari. We'll see a bombard on the field for the Abbasids, possibly looking to try and start working on that keep, but it's got to keep that well protected if you can. 2 Springalds popping forward, trying to snipe the bombard. And just as well that B actually started to take the gold in the middle, right? Because he is being pushed back, and that's the key difference. He took a decent chunk out of gold of that, and just as well, but he's now able to fall back to the gold base he has back at his base. He's always got the trade to rely on too. In fact, just take a look at how many traders he's got. How many does he have? 16 so far. Not too shabby, and they're getting 70 gold per minute. Or per trip, rather, I should say. Keeping that forward position, getting the Wooden Fortress for the extra vision as well. Looking to try and raid as best he can. That's going to be tricky, though, because B's got 140 eco units. Yeah, he's got more than double the gold income. Camel Rider's going to charge on him, the Streltsy, and the Streltsy should be pretty decent at taking out the camels. There aren't like huge numbers on them, but if he gap closes like this, he should be able to get some damage out of this. Trouble is, there's so many crossbows on the back line as well. Perfect counter units, lots of dead camels. Going to charge in with some spearmen. He is gap closing pretty well, so the numbers are starting to thin for those Streltsy. Around the back, he's raiding on the trade. Gold vein expiring there for B. He's going to find another source of gold for sure. But it needs to be, make sure he doesn't go a little bit too far forward there, B. He does have all 3 sacred sites though, and I mean, Kiljari does need to actually deactivate this. I'm sure he will, but you know, he's letting the clock run down a little bit. I love the fact that Kiljari is getting forward production, right? This is something that a lot of players often just don't do. But what it does, it allows the army to replenish itself really quickly and get to that front line of the battle quickly. Sometimes getting reinforcements to a fight quicker can make all the difference. I say sometimes, but I'd probably say most of the time, actually. Doesn't commit with the horsemen. Palisade will be burnt to the ground eventually anyway. There's a lot of weak Springalds. Starting to snap out some of the siege. 2 Mangonels, 2 Culverins. Does lose one of the Springalds involved, and he's looking to repair. Be keeping that Culverin alive. 3 minutes to the Sacred Site victory. But I'm sure Kiljardi, I'm sure he will, right? I'm surprised he hasn't actually, because you know this is still a good amount of gold trickling in from the Sacred Sites. He's now neutralizing, of course, but a bit later than you would have expected. Horseman possibly about to dive on the siege and maybe on the gold villagers, but ultimately Horseman at this stage is a bit tricky for Kiljardi, right? He's spending a lot of food on this, and he's going up against spears and hand cannoneers. Those Horsemen won't live for long, but what it does do buys them a little bit of time. It's allowed the Streltsy to set themselves up, but I mean things going a little bit too close for comfort there. It's going to be starting to overrun. He does have 52 military, but it's not all here in the fight in the one position. Mangonel shot does deploy, gets a little bit of a couple of hits, but I think he's opting for a second keep here, Kiljardi, looking to push on further forward, and I gotta say a keep in this position could be really devastating. Like it could deny a good chunk of both goals, although this gold is pretty much mostly taken, as this gold is possibly more interested in. And B, he recognizing that threat, gets a keep of his own. I like that. It's all about focusing on gold and when you can get it next, and making sure it's safe and secure, and B, looking to do just that with that keep. Also stonewalling, yeah, he recognizes the importance of this 4,000 gold vein. Doesn't seem like a lot, but in the context of the game, it could be all the difference. "21 traders at the moment. And he is fully population capped, so just looking at all the final upgrades, looking to get elite army tactics, and also the final melee attack upgrade to Damascus Steel. A good number of culverins would be like, despite the Rus' capability of making cheaper siege engines, it feels like the bastards are pretty well set up here. With that number of culverins, it'd be tricky to push. Speaking of pushing, the Horsemen pushing on the west side, Camels though getting ready for that fight just as well, because they are needed now. Kiljardi just going for a bit of a slower push. Adding in a couple of rams too. Production builders coming up for B. I wonder if he's got the Golden Age tier 3 at this point. Not yet, not yet, not yet. Still 6 structures away. At this point it probably makes sense just to spam houses, just to make sure he gets there. Looks like Kiljardi starting to break on through. Outpost won't go up. I think it probably just about goes up. It's going to lose quite a few of those villagers potentially here. Loses 1, loses 2, loses 3, loses 4, loses 5, loses all 6 of them, I'm afraid. Well, at least the outpost went up. Trade route has been protected once again. The good thing about the raiding, though, is forcing B to spend units and move units in the west location, right? Rather than fighting out the front lines here. But now it's going to be starting to look to be a bit more of a coordinated effort. One Horseman, again, is still raiding on that west side on the trade. Mangonels deploy, and that's a real big siege ball. There's no real way to get on top of that, I've got to say. Massive choke point created by the 2 lumber camps and houses. I get this point, it's going to be turning into a bit of a war of attrition, right? Who has the better bank of resources? In terms of gold, as long as the trade keeps on going. Oh, that's a massive Mangonel shot on the Streltsy. A lot of HP taken off there. It's got to be careful with Kiljardi. Might take a couple more hits. Oh, that's not looking good. It takes another hit, but not that much damage comes out that time. Or this time, though. Oh, that's a massive, devastating shot. There were 2 Mangonels there. It does have a Springald, but you know, the Mangonels definitely got their money's worth. Some insane shots here for B. That's actually kind of brought him out of a pinch, I've got to say. Like, that push was looking disastrous, or dangerous, I should say, from the Rus, but actually with those 2 Mangonels, it kind of saved him here, I've got to say. Turns the tide of the fight big time. Gonna look to get Spice Rose to get even extra gold, and this is where trade for the Abbasid Dynasty could come into clutch, as gold is starting to run out on the map. I think it looks like the Rus are looking to get some trade up as well. He kind of has to, right? He's got to do something about this. Got to make sure that gold keeps on trickling in. Now, of course, he does have the hunting cabins, which certainly help, but he might need a bit more. And the 2 sacred sites were captured by Kiljardi. And amongst all of that, that'll help with the gold income, of course. Now, Kiljardi's had those 2 trebuchets for quite some time. They've been doing some great work for the Rus. Here come the trade. There's no walls here, I've got to say. Could potentially look to get some stone walls. Has about 2,000 in the bank. I wonder if B will start to spot that. I mean, he's got to be thinking about it, right? He's got to be thinking, is Kiljardi trading? Loses 2 springles. Nicely done by the culverins, and I'm sure those villagers will come to repair the culverin there. That's exactly what's happening. Great snipe off. I know the Rus siege engines are cheaper, but, you know, when you lose units like that, it's still painful. Oh, that's going to be a massive raid on the wood line. Lots of camel riders diving on in. Not enough protection for these units, these villagers. Looking to get a bit of a keep. A bit of a panic keep, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be punished, actually. Camels got distracted on the lumber camp more than anything. And the wooden fortress. So the keep will go up, protect the gold vein, which is exactly what Kiljardi needed. Starting to move on the westerly position. Maybe he's looking to deny the trade that way. Keepers up. Two rams. Going to move on uncontested. It's kind of funny. Might actually do quite significant damage. Oh, those villagers on gold. It's one thing having a keep. There's another thing getting those villagers to react to get inside the keep. I would have loved to see the camel riders actually come in between the keep and the villagers. He would have body blocked, but unfortunately he didn't. That's actually, like, I wouldn't say a misplay, but it's a missed opportunity for sure. Like, there's a lot of villagers that could have just gone down in a blink of an eye. But he didn't have the camel riders in between the keep and the villagers, so fortunately the villagers were able to retreat, most of them at least, and horsemen are raiding around the back. Good number of Streltsy, but look at that. 2 mangonels, plenty of anti-siege. Streltsy deployed, take down the camel really quickly, but massive mangonel shots, not for the first time here, B. Getting some clutch shots. He's trying to focus on the trade as best he can with the horsemen, but in doing so, he lost a lot of HP on this Streltsy. The thing is, he is being chased down by a superior number of hand cannoneers, so the hand cannoneers will take these down eventually. And sure, he might lose a couple of traders, lose villagers or two, but with the number of markets he's got, 3 of them, he'll be fine of remaking them. Getting a keep as well, and wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a couple of stone walls or 2. Gets a keep in the western position, maybe looking to secure a bit of wood line, right? Wood could become an issue, especially when you're thinking about how much siege is being made. And he's going to dive on in. Mangonels deploy, and he's going to back off and out Kiljardi, but he's made a lot of inroads in the positioning. The thing that's kind of interesting about this matchup and the way it's working right now, a lot of the times when you get to the super late game, it's all about who has the better bank of resources. The reason for that is, if you start taking fights, it then comes down to who can make the army again quicker, and who can replace the army with resources. If you can't replace it, and you're losing it, then you're going to start to get pushed back, so it really does depend who has the bigger bank. Of course, it depends on the army composition as well, and this is a good army composition. Camels, forcing Kiljardi into Streltsy, as we kind of expected would be the case in the earlier stage of the cast. Which then means that the Abbasids can do well on the siege front, which, to be fair, the Rus should challenge on that, but that's a massive mangonel shot. God, those Streltsys, oh, they're so weak now, and they're just going to go down in a blink of an eye. Mangonels have gotten so many good shots for B. Kiljardi, he's suffering to the mangonels, and despite having the cheaper siege engines, he's just not been able to win the siege fights. Maybe that's why he might not win this game. We'll have to see. Still a lot of time left in this game. Plenty of villagers for Kiljardi. He's losing the keep, though. He's losing his forward position. This is a really strong push coming in for the Abbasids, and they've got siege behind it. Hand cannoneers just diving here for B. He doesn't care. Like, he's got full population cap, right? So he can afford to do this. As long as he takes that infrastructure on the right side, looking to try and raid with a couple of rams, but yeah, these are going to get taken down. They shouldn't lose the keep, but might look to repair it. Now 2 bombards, 4 culverins, 2 mangonels. It's going to be tricky for the Rus to navigate this. He's added in a 3rd town centre, by the way, B, just in case he's being raided. Moving out on the right side, B, he's going to spot the trade, and maybe that's going to be a focus for attack now. Maybe just go straight through the middle. Oh, B, creating a bit of a playpen for his siege. We've seen this time and time again, actually, mostly by the English, but the Abbasids doing it today again. And get the siege nice, safe, and secure. And that keeper's going to go down. Kiljardi, the pushback is real. Kiljardi's struggling to hold. Doesn't have the gold income. Doesn't have the bank of food either. And it looks like the elite camel riders is what's winning this fight massively for B. Not to mention the mangonel shots. I think we can't forget mangonel shots. Alright, lots of rams. Is Kiljari thinking about a landmark snipe with this? Possibly not. We can't really, right? I'm surprised he's going in the west side position. Maybe looking to deny the trade, but there's not much that this number of rams will be doing necessarily, structurally. Maybe he's going for the trade. It's quite possible. I'll tell you what though, Kiljari's struggling. It's been pushed back so heavily. He's got a couple of units, a couple of Streltsy, a couple of elite knights on the field, but I mean, elite knights now are kind of redundant. Like, going against cavalry riders is a big no-no. Not unless you somehow force a really unfavourable fight, but it's quite unlikely, right? The Rams don't even make it too far. Might take out one market if he's lucky, but probably not. Well, he might get it, actually. Horseman raiding on in. Is picking off a decent number of traders, but B's population fully capped at 200. There's no real threat of that falling. The big problem for Kiljari is losing the full position. He does lose the monastery. We talked about this earlier in the cast, and that was a relatively, you know, exposed position. And he continues to make a playpen for his siege. Now, maybe he'll start training in an Imam to pick up those relics and snag them. Although he might lose a couple of siege engines here. Horseman diving on in really well. Camelot riders, rather. Looking to protect, but I think he might lose. Oh, he only lost one. Able to body block. That's pretty huge. So there's plenty of Springalds, but it's a fight that actually, to be fair, Kiljari is kind of winning. Although maybe not with this number of camel riders coming in from the right side. Kiljari is raiding massively round the back on the food, but it probably doesn't matter at this stage. He's got 1,000 food in the bank here, B. He's still got almost up to 4,000 food coming in per minute. Camel riders should be able to win this fight. He's on top of the Streltsy. That's the big problem. There's not enough meat shield here for Kiljari. He's running out of steam. Now, whilst he is starting to lose a bit of siege engines here, B, it shouldn't matter. He's starting to overrun on land. The Imam running away with the relic. And he might be running away with the game here, B, with those camel riders diving on in. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Kiljari has to tap out. A great game of Age of Empires for the camel riders. The Mangonels stealing the show for the Abbasid dynasty. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Take care, and see you next time.